What's up, y'all? We got Nick Sproul in the house. He is an SDR tactician, an SDR academic, and SDR leader. He knows the ins and outs of how to succeed in the SDR world as he's led multiple SDR teams. And he is here today to share with us his top 3 favorite interview questions to ask when interviewing SDRs. So, Nick, welcome. Why should we listen to you? Who are you?
Yeah, Jack, thanks for having me. I've been doing the SDR work. I've been in this field for a decade and a half. But for the last 5-6 years, I've been coaching, building teams from kind of the ground up. And I've hired SDRs from all walks of life. So happy to kind of share my tips and tricks. But the SDR field, the SDR job itself, I'm extremely passionate about. So
Beautiful. Yeah, you hired 2 of the best SDRs I think I've ever seen at one of the companies you were at. So you've done a great job. Excited to have your wisdom today. So the question, Nick, is what are your top 3 favorite interview questions to ask SDR candidates?
I just like to know kind of like about their journey. So I always ask them, tell me about your journey. Tell me how you got to where you are. Like, why are we speaking today? I just like to get kind of a wide view of things they've done and kind of what makes them unique and why I'm basically like, what sort of role would they fit in with my team and what makes them unique basically.
Awesome. Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and start with the first question. When you ask the first question, your top 3 favorite interview questions, what does that question sound like? If I'm a candidate, how would you ask it to me?
Right. Basically just how I said it, I say, I can see here about your background, but tell me more kind of like about your journey and what got you interested in getting into, let's just say, tech sales, or what has you interested in XYZ company. Just kind of gets you into kind of their process and the way of how they think and do things, which tells me a lot about the person.
1,000%. What do you like hearing? What are some good things that when you hear, you're like, yes, that's the right answer?
Someone that's like in most cases, the most successful people are people that have had to overcome something in their life, whether that's a loss or maybe they, for example, like those 2 SDRs you mentioned, like they're single mothers. So like that's a huge obstacle and thing to overcome. So they have that added pressure, added motivation to really do well. So I kind of look for those types of things and it keys me into like what are their internal motivations, which can give you kind of a key factor of how successful they're going to be in the role.
Yeah, I'm super passionate about this point, so we'll come back to it. But what are some like red flags if they don't have a super deep why or something like that? What do you hear and you go, that's not a good answer?
Yeah, just like, oh, I've heard tech sales is fun, like that you can make a lot of money, or like this company sounded interesting. Anything that's going to key in like that they're not really too serious about it, or that they haven't put in like the work like to prepare for before the interview. So
Yeah, I've heard an answer before where this sweet woman was like, yeah, I have a friend who's been working from Italy for the past 6 months. And apparently, like, she just has all the time in the world to go travel. And while she's working, I'm like, okay, I get it, but that's not why I'm hiring you to go work in Italy and just go travel. So,
yeah,
is that kind of an example of maybe a red flag?
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so back on like the deeper why, that really connects with me too. When someone's willing to be transparent about, single motherhood or, hey, I grew up poor, I grew up with these struggles. And you're saying that that's a really good answer for why tech sales. Why does that matter to us? Because I'm the same way. When I hear that, I'm bought in now. Like, why do you think in your manager heart that matters?
Yeah, it just gives them like they're going to put in like the extra work because whether they're a single mother, whether they overcome a loss in their life or something like that. Like in tech sales, there's obstacles and things aren't going to go your way 98% of the time. So being kind of resilient. That's like one of the key skills I look for, is like, how resilient are you? Are you just going to lie down when something doesn't go your way and the prospect doesn't want to meet with you or things like that? Or are you going to kind of rise to the occasion, as it were?
Yeah.
And just having that extra motivation to kind of go to the next level is very important.
Yeah. Something you're tapping on that's important for my SDRs to understand is what their why is in life. And it needs to be outside of what they're doing at work. Like if your why in life is, oh, I want to grow a successful career at this company and make a lot of money. Well, on the days when you really don't want to pick that phone up, that's not going to motivate you to pick that phone up and persevere. What will motivate you is, oh, yeah, I have a mouth to feed at home. Or, oh, yeah, I need to go do this thing that's going to radically change the rest of my family. So, Nick, you're right, man. We have to have like a motivation that's outside of work that's going to push us through those hard times. I've
Yeah.
gotten some pushback from people in the comments before when we've talked about this, that, oh, you shouldn't air out all your life trauma on an interview. So what would you say to someone like that?
I mean, understanding like who you are as a person, I think, is important, especially when you're looking to hire someone. A lot of companies, they're very passionate about like who they bring on. I mean, a lot of companies use that kind of that family term, but they want to know that someone's going to be invested in understanding not just how things are in work, but like outside of work. Uh, Something I've instilled in my own teams, like we'll be texting over the weekend or like having group chats, like not about anything work related, but just it gives you a kind of a greater bond by being more open about things. Yeah, and just builds like kind of the greater connection that's incredibly important in this role.
Yeah. Yeah, that's where sales is just different, where I feel like you can be real and you can bring your whole self to something and that's actually going to help you. So the people who are like, "Oh, I don't want to air out all my baggage and dirty laundry and life trauma on an interview," I think you're missing an opportunity to connect human to human with someone who you want on your side. You want them bought in on your mission and your why. And there's a wrong way to do it. Like you don't sit there and air it all out and then sit in the victimhood of it, right? And okay, yeah, life sucks. Like this is everything I've been through. No, no, no. You make it a good thing. You make it like a driver in your life, and you talk about it from the perspective of being a victor, not a
Yeah.
victim. Okay, cool. So question number 2, when you ask question number 2, what does that sound like?
I like to know, like, all right, what are your personal goals in life and what are your like professional goals? Where do you see yourself in 5 years from now?
Mm, okay.
Um, but I also like to know, like, what are they trying to accomplish, like personally?
Mhm,
Like, I'm looking to start a family, or I want to travel more, or whatever it might be.
mhm.
But also understanding, like, have they kind of looked in those next 2-3 steps? Because as an SDR, that's that's like a key skill. Like when you're on the call, like knowing how to pivot, how to know like what questions to ask, how to guide them on like that journey that's going to eventually get you a meeting with a prospect. So
Yeah. I love that question too. And we just talked about the personal side and why it's important to have like real goals in your personal life. But on the professional side, everyone's like, "Oh, I hate that question. What am I going to be doing in 5 years?" What do you actually want to hear, Nick? What do you want to hear an SDR say?
like, sometimes that they're very adamant. They're like, I want to be top performing AE in 5 years, or um, a lot of times, sometimes they'll even be like, I'm not sure if I want to go like the sales route or customer success route, but I do know that I believe in this company and their mission. Maybe they've done their research that way. Because not every, like, you don't have to go like the sales route. There are other routes you could take. I mean, I look for the key on like their strengths and like what makes them successful. Because not everyone's going to know like their professional goals.
Mhm.
Um, and then they'll probably, in most cases, then they'll double down on like their personal goals. which
Mhm.
you can have too. So
Yeah. Yeah, I think the point here is they need some kind of plan. Doesn't need to be perfectly built out, but the candidate that shows up and says, "Well, I don't really know. I haven't really thought about beyond this role." That's probably what a red flag, a yellow flag. What would you say?
yellow flag. Yeah, I don't
Yellow
know if it's a
flag.
red flag per se, but
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. It's like, well, have you really researched this? Is this really what you want to do? And are you growth minded? Now, the other side to that is you get someone who comes in gung ho, I want to be an AE in 12 months. What does that do to you, Nick?
I mean, it shows me that they're they've got plans in place, but also when I hear that, I also then it keys me into other questions like, all right, for example, if it takes you 18 months and then there's no like set timeline, would that be a problem for you? Would you be looking to jump at that point or things like that? So,
Yeah. How can a candidate that does have those ambitious goals, because that's what I think as a candidate you're trying to balance. Like, I want to show ambition, but I also don't want to freak you out and make you think you're going to lose me. Like, what would a good response be, or how do we approach that to get that balance there?
like them asking like, what's the exact process of like becoming AE? What sort of goals do I need to hit? Is there a intermediary promotion with between that time? So a lot of
Mhm.
organizations will have like a senior SDR role if you hit your goals for X amount of months.
Mhm.
Uh, so it gives you kind of that mid-level step up and can prepare you more to potentially take on some AE responsibilities while still doing kind of the SDR work.
Yeah. You know what I like about that answer is it removes the entitlement. I think when you come in and say, I want to be an AE in 12 months, there's like this entitlement attitude of, do you really know how hard that's going to be? And are you really like ready to put in that work? What you just said is a humble way of showing that ambition of like, I want to get here, but the submission to the process, the submission to like, what does your process look like? And is there growth in there? Because then you're not totally over the top of 12 months or bust, but you're also not just passive sitting there like, I hope you guys promote me one day. No, like you're getting a built out process that the manager, whether they know it or not, like now we are committing to giving you this career development because we talked about it. Cool. All right. Third question. What's your favorite question, third favorite question, or top three question you like to ask? And how would you ask this one?
Yeah, I was actually surprised. I wasn't asked this more during my last job interview process to get my current role. But basically, why you, why now?
Mm,
Um, I've, any SDR I've ever hired, I've always asked them this question
mm, okay.
because it keys it into me like, what sort of thing are they going to bring to the table? How tenacious are they going to be? How assertive? And basically, it'll get into like, what reasons are they using to kind of explain that to me?
What's an example of a good response you've heard, even if it's not verbatim?
Um, like when they're like really honest about it, they're like, I know I've never done tech sales before, but I have done sales and insurance before, so I know how to build rapport. I know how to continue a conversation um, based on my experiences. Whether I'm a single mother, that gives me added um, motivation to really excel in this role and help the team grow.
That's good. I think that's an important opportunity for the candidate to show some intensity behind their job search and like some real, I don't want to just get into SaaS and a tech sales role because it's remote and it pays well. No, I have like urgency behind why I'm trying to do this. I thought of though the reps who have been getting laid off or even fired, let go for performance. How should they approach that question?
Yeah, I mean, they can even key on like their past experiences. Like, yeah, I've had roles or times where, unfortunately, I've been at the brunt of layoffs or uh, things like that. But that's kind of showed me X, Y, and Z about my experiences and about what I can bring to the table.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the theme that I'm picking up on through a lot of what we've been talking about, even with like the very real life trauma and trials and all that, is transparency, but spinning that into something positive. Like, hey, this is what it taught me, right? So even a layoff. What about performance? If you're straight up let go because you sucked as an SDR, like what would your guidance be for that?
Yeah, I mean, just be open and honest about it. Because a lot of times it could be like my manager didn't properly support me, or I wasn't given the tools in order to succeed. But yeah, just being open and honest and upfront about it, and not having me be able to like have to ask those questions.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're casting blame, just so y'all know, that is an immediate red flag. Like you're not taking ownership, right? And I get it. There are companies that look one way, you join and it's another way. But if you're saying your first reaction is, well, I wasn't given the tools, I wasn't given the support. Okay. What did you do about that though? Because you're going to have struggles here. You're not going to have everything you need here. Are you going to immediately cast blame and give up? So I think that's good, Nick. Just being transparent and hey, this is what happened. Here's what I learned. And here's why I'm ready to go prove it again. Cool. All right. Last question I've got for you, man, is just in general, the job market's hard right now. It's hard to land a role as an SDR. What advice would you have for people?
Leverage any sort of relationships that you have to get in the door, and you got to find ways to stand out. Like for me, obviously, I have a lot of experience, but like I utilized a portfolio to like send to people. Now this is like after the first conversation, but in 90% of the time, they're like, "Whoa, I've never seen something like this. This is very cool." And so things like that can help you stand out. Um, yeah, if you know the hiring manager, like if the hiring manager is like visible, like on LinkedIn, don't just like connect with them. Like showcase how you're different. Um, send them a video, give them a call, do anything that's gonna to make you stand out from the crowd. 'Cause, I mean, especially for SDRs, I'm like there's some positions that have 4, 5, 600 people applying. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you gotta stand out from the crowd.
Yeah, full agree here. I mean, everyone is saying, oh, there's so many applications. How am I ever going to stick out? And then the ones who do take that next step of, okay, I'm going to at least message the manager on LinkedIn. Unfortunately, that's still not enough. I'll give you some data real quick. So I posted a role. I got 387 applicants. 68 people LinkedIn DM'd me. Now that's only 18% of the total
Mhm.
applicant pool. So that's good. Good job. You're the other 82% not even going to talk to them, but you're competing against 67 other LinkedIn DMs. So you have to do more. You have to send an email. 13 people emailed me. Now we're thinning it down. 10 people texted me. 9 people cold called me. That's 2% of the total applicant pool picked up the phone and called me. Matthew Roberts, we both know him, SDR leader friend. I think he had like 127 applicants. He had 3 cold calls out of that applicant pool right there. So, in one hand, super competitive. In the other hand, y'all, you can pick up the phone. You can go on Apollo and start a free trial and go find a phone number. So, full agree, man. Well, thank you so much. This was helpful and really appreciate your time and your wisdom and Nick, just your friendship, man. So, thank you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. This is great.
Awesome. And for those of you who are on the job search out there and you are not sure how to break into tech sales, I will drop a free guide in the comments. In there is a step-by-step. It shows you exactly how to land a job in tech sales. And there's a free community there as well where I am. I'm there to give you advice, help out. Let's go land some jobs. Thank you.